We got a little over a week. And then what are we going to do?
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Hold on, okay.
Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the January 31st, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. All right. We are, 9 days away from the Super Bowl. I know people have complained about it. People are, it's going to be boring. I don't think it's going to be boring. It's the Super Bowl. So everything about it is monumental. Everything about it is heightened. Again, yesterday was Mike Jones Day. If you're a Rams fan, right? Mike Jones Day. Mike Jones making the tackle on Kevin Dyson in Super Bowl 34. It was a tackle, but it was a monumental tackle, right? You look at that tackle, and it's like, how come Dyson didn't break free? Because it just looks like Jones gets his arm on him. But it's monumental because it's the Super Bowl. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'll be watching it with some friends. I'll be on the road. But that's going to be the last significant football we're going to see. And then you get into this little ground here where you got the Super Bowl, and then you got to wait a month till the official start of the new season, which begins free agency. And then we're going to get to the combine at the end of February and such. So you kind of got shift gears, and you got to go searching a little more for your football fix. The UFL doesn't bring it, right? UFL doesn't bring it. As much as I want it to, and I've tried the last few years, UFL, XFL, CFL, NFL, IFL, whatever you want to call it, I can't get into it. I try, and I used to love all the minor league stuff, but I'm kind of just a football guy now. All right, so let's get into some Ram stuff a little bit here. Some basic top-of-the-line stuff that people are talking about. We talked about the offensive line on Wednesday, and I posted the notes from the Wednesday show are on midvalleysports.com. If you want to check that out at Mid Valley Sports, check it out. It's just the notes from the offensive line talk. It's in Rams notes. And today we're going to talk about the defensive line. But again, some of the hot topics besides we got to find a way to sign Alaric Jackson that we were talking about also stems from I see you there, Steve. Also stems from the Cooper Kupp stuff, right? And I got to tell you, the more I watch the Cooper Kupp stuff and the more I hear the doom and gloom and everything, cutting Cooper Kupp saves you money, but it's not life-changing or season-changing money. In fact, the dead cap kind of cost really hurts you. I can't imagine anyone trading for him. So it's kind of really up to Kupp, right? Some restructure, a pay cut will have to happen. But here's my gut feeling, and I could be wrong, but my gut feeling is I'm thinking he's going to be back. I'm thinking he's going to be back because at this place in his career, where is he going to go? What's his market? Now, the Rams will take I think the only thing the Rams are interested in getting out from under his contract. If they cut him, they're on the hook for 22 rocks. So it's not like they wouldn't accommodate him if he had a reasonable contract and everything. They'd send him to wherever he wanted to go. But so I don't think there's a market for him. And I think it's kind of like, does he want to play for a championship team again? Does he want to maybe make that agreement, because that way the Rams have a little more flexibility under the salary cap, and the team can be better and he can go along for another ride. And I got to believe if he was banged up and he was nursing things this year, we have another chance for him to be healthy. And then he's just stable, steady, and you can rely on him. But I'm getting the feeling he's going to be back. I woke up and I kept seeing all these fake posts that says Matthew Stafford being traded to the Giants. And my first thought that whispered out of my mouth if they give us the number 3 overall pick. And then, knowing it was a ridiculous link, just clickbait, I was kind of curious what you folks would think if, and this is a ridiculous notion, if the Giants wanted Matthew Stafford, would you deal Stafford to the Giants for the number 3 overall pick that could possibly put you in line for Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward? Just curious to see what you thought. I see we got guys lined up there. I saw you, Steve Ramirez. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see. Steve Ramirez, what would you give up for Garrett Wilson? Ooh, right? There you go. That's an interesting one. What would you give up for Garrett Wilson? Would you give up the 26th pick for Garrett Wilson? Yeah, probably. If I knew I was getting Garrett Wilson, I might give up the 26th pick. It's all about contract, but I don't think you can bring in Garrett Wilson and keep Cooper Kupp. And again, that's the hard part about Kupp. What do you do with Kupp? Because you owe him so much money. So something to think about. Tommy Huxley, Steve, and Niner is. Hey, Tommy, thank you for the inspiration. Our timing was perfect. Tommy, if you notice there, Mr. Huxley, I got a new logo up there. Now, whether you like it or not, at least you're not seeing my face. So there we go. Bill, a plane went down northeast of Philly. Whoa, that was an answer to the question before we went on the air. Yeah, that is, wow. My daughter's flying on Sunday to D.C., so I'm kind of curious about that now. Tommy Huxley, you like it. Thank you, Tommy. All right. Hey, just trying to make the fans happy here. Willie Bowen, what if Josh Palmer from the LA Chargers for Tutu? Well, Tutu's a free agent. I like Josh Palmer. Maybe as a guy, if he was healthy enough to replace Demarcus Robinson, but you've already got Demarcus Robinson, who also is a free agent. But I do like Josh Palmer. I just don't think he gives us what we're looking for. That's my feeling. Tommy Huxley, you don't have a bad I got a face for radio, Mr. Huxley. I got a face for radio. So we'll throw this out there again. Would you give up Matthew Stafford for the number 3 overall pick from the Giants? Just throwing it out there. And what would you for? That's a great question by Steve Ramirez. What would you give up? What would you give up for Garrett Wilson? Definitely number 26. I'd give that up in a heartbeat for him. It's just a question on maybe you guys could do some homework there. I haven't gone to the wide receiver room yet, but when we go to the wide receiver room, I want to see his contract status right now, and because I think he's due for a big primer there real quick. So real soon. I'm sorry. Okay, so we looked at the offensive line, the defensive line for the Rams. Now we're not counting Michael Hoyt, who did play a lot there this year. We're not counting Jared Verse. We're not counting Byron Young. Sorry, Byron Murphy's with the Seahawks. We're not counting them. The edge guys replaced the traditional defensive end. We're talking the main guys that put their hands down. Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, Bobby Brown. So looking at that, you couldn't have asked for 2 better years out of Kobe Turner to start his career, right? My biggest fear for Kobe Turner is he plays 3 more years at exceptional ball, and then someone out here in LA gives him a record contract, right? And he's producing and he's making records and making millions. So my hope is he keeps playing. So we're set there. We've got 2 more years of control with Kobe Turner. Braden Fisk, minor cleanup surgery, nothing serious. 6'5", 297, played 700 snaps this year. I think we were all pleased with Braden Fisk. Rams have control of him for another 3 years. So those are your anchors. Those are your cornerstones. But here's where it gets a little tricky. Bobby Brown is a free agent. 4th round pick back in 2021. What do you do with him, right? What do you do with him? He's 6'4", 324. He is the prime toilet clogger, as we've been calling it here the last few months, right? He played 500 snaps. Do you bring him back? And as a free agent, if you can get him back in a reasonable rate, yeah, but you're not going to break the bank. And I got to imagine somebody might be hungry enough to give him some dough. So he's interesting because Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, none of these guys are built like Bobby Brown at 324. So again, something to think about for the future there. And that's why I think that has to be a draft priority. Maybe not first day, but if you find something special, the 2nd, 3rd round pick or something in the 4th round, yeah, I think you got to think about it. Neville Gallimore, who's I like him, but he's just a guy, and he's a free agent. He played well with the Rams, 308 snaps this year, 6'2", 3 spins. We like him, but he's kind of just a guy. So it's chances are him coming back, maybe, yes, no. It depends on who wants to offer him something. Tyler Davis, rookie year, 6'2", 300, played 354 snaps. I like him. I think he's a great rotational piece. Rams have control of him for another 3 years. I don't know if he's special, but he's not bad. He's okay. He's a good guy to have in the roster. And DeJuan Johnson, he's our Mr. Irrelevant from 2023. He played 155 snaps this year. He hasn't played horrible when he has played. He's a rotational guy, a low-end rotational guy, and we've got control of him, so he's not going anywhere. And then you got Larrell Murchison, who didn't play bad in 2023 but missed the whole season. He's a free agent. And then a couple of guys, Jack Heflin, 6'4", 304. He's been around the NFL since 2021, played with Alaric Jackson at Iowa, but he's hung around the NFL for 4 seasons and hasn't taken a snap yet. David Olajigi is Jaga, David Olajiga. He's the import from Britain. Those import guys, unless it's Jordan Mailata, he's not going to play. So that's the issue with the Rams defensive line. And it makes you wonder, like, okay, they've got some weak links in there. They have to fill that spot. I would rather, I know it's going to sound really weird, I'm trusting that what they think they're going to get out of Emmanuel Forbes, they're going to get. So I'm thinking, and I'm not all hung up on the off-ball linebacker, at least not in the first 3 rounds of the draft. But I'm thinking the vulnerable point for the Rams right now is the big fat guy, that the big bruiser they need to put on that defensive line. And that's where they need to make a move. And I like how Steve Ramirez has suggested the kid from UCLA several times. So something to think about there. Let's go back to the questions on Friday night. You guys are with me. I can't believe I got a crowd on Friday night. And here we go. Let's see. Willie Bowen. Stafford should be a LA Rams Ram for life. I agree. I want him to be. I wouldn't trade him. I don't even know if I trade him for the 3rd overall pick this year, but it'd be something to think about. Bill, yes, I would trade Stafford to the Giants for the number 3 pick. Hey, who would you take? Who would you take, Bill? That's an interesting question. Tommy taking a shot at one-eyed Willie. I have good vision in both eyes. Willie, you don't like the Goonies. Okay, whatever. Let's keep going here. Tommy Huxley, I have good vision, but now I might need to get reading glasses. Hello, 47. Yeah, that was about the age I got reading glasses. Willie Bowen, I hate the movie The Goonies. Okay. Manny Vasquez, I wouldn't trade Stafford for the number 3 pick. He's proven he can win a Super Bowl, and an incoming rookie would be unpredictable, but I would trade the number 26 for Wilson. I agree with that. Yeah, because what would you do, right? Okay, you get Shedeur, you get Cam Ward, but I think you kind of upset the apple cart in terms of Super Bowl the next 2 years. And I think that's our window. That's what this team is built for. All these defensive players are under contract. The stars are under contract through this 25-26 period, and that's why I probably wouldn't make the deal. But number 26 for Garrett Wilson, preach. I'm all there. I'm there for you. Tommy, actually, the Goonies have been me, brother. Okay, you guys are killing me, Tommy. Okay, Willie Bowen, Ola, Manny Amigo. Okay, Steeler fan Sorge, 6 people on that plane crashed close to the mall. Several houses are on fire. Ooh, boy, that's terrible. That's bad news there, guys. Let's keep moving on. I'll stay in my lane. And I won't make any comments here. All right, so moving on to around the NFL and other places, just some incidental news. I love this news. I know people don't necessarily get into it, but I love knowing who the assistant coaches are and different things. You can let me know if you hate it or not. I kind of like it. Raiders kept Patrick Graham as their defensive coordinator. And it's so interesting is that Graham has survived Josh McDaniels, Antonio Pierce, and now the arrival of a defensive coach with defensive thoughts of his own, obviously, in Pete Carroll, and they've kept Patrick Graham. And that's kind of good for the Raiders. I'm sure Max Crosby, I'm assuming, is probably happy about that. The thing people keep forgetting about Antonio Pierce is, okay, maybe he wasn't the greatest coach in the world, right? But those guys played hard. They played hard. And I think as long as someone is playing hard for you, you always got to lean a little bit towards that coach. I think for Pete Carroll, they're going to play hard. It's when teams lay down. That's when you really have to start wondering, oh man, what's going on? But yeah, Patrick Graham staying there. I am not anti-Raider. I want to see the Raiders play well. I want to see the Raiders do well. My fear for Pete Carroll is that it's gonna hurt his legacy. Remember, I mean, is George Seifert in the Hall of Fame yet? George Seifert's got 2 Super Bowl wins. George Seifert went to Carolina. George Seifert was never heard from again. So I'm just kind of curious. I don't want anything bad to happen to Pete Carroll's legacy. That's what I'm saying. Regarding also DC's Anthony Campanell, the Packers linebacker coach, who was also the linebacker coach with Miami, and he coached at Michigan with Harbaugh. He got the job as the DC for the Jaguars, working with former Ram assistant, former Tampa Bay OC, Liam Cohen. So just stuff to keep an eye on there. Justin Tucker, guilty or innocent? I don't know, but I'll tell you one thing I know he's guilty of. He's guilty of going into a room in this climate and closing a door with a female. That doesn't mean the female's bad, but what I'm saying is if he wants to make an argument for innocence, 3 people behind a closed door, 3 people in the car, that's just what you do nowadays. Even with the best of people, that's what you do. And it's a bad move. If he said, nah, we could just do it in here, that's fine. He's guilty. He's guilty of that at least. Now, I don't know if what the women are saying is true or not true, but I do know this. There's a reason why you always have a third person behind a closed door, right? Or riding in the car with you. There's just a reason you have that. That's all I'm saying, right? When I got to my church in Burbank, I have a big window behind my desk, but I didn't have a window in the door. The door was a solid wood door, and I said, I need a window in there, and they put a window in there for me. So Justin Tucker, one thing I do know he's guilty of not thinking things through, especially in the climate that we're in. All right, Philly OC Kellen Moore appears to have the inside track to the New Orleans job. May he rest in peace. I don't know if that's the place I'd want to go, but if you want to be a head coach that bad, I guess so. Yeah, maybe he's the hero. Maybe he's the GOAT because, in Philly, there's always going to be somebody to blame if they don't work it out. So, again, something to think about there. All right, something else I wanted to add that I'll probably be doing throughout the offseason now is the NFC West, just dropping in tidbits about the NFC West, looking at NFC West and the draft picks our opponents, the Royal we, Arizona, San Francisco, and Seattle have. Arizona has nailed it in their last 3 drafts. In 2022, they got Trey McBride, who has climbed the ladder as one of the best tight ends in the NFL. In 2023, they had 4 picks. In the 2023, they had 4 picks in the top 100. Last year, in 2024, they had 7 picks in the top 100. They are a team that is on the ascent. And this year, they've got the 16th overall. They have a 2nd-round pick, a 3rd-round pick, a 4th-round pick, and a 5th-round pick. So they've been drafting well, and they got a full complement of picks right as of right now. I don't know if there's any compensatory stuff coming their way. And they've been nailing it since Gannon got there. And so just something to keep an eye on. Sooner or later, the Cardinals are going to figure out a way to get out from Kyler Murray's contract, and they're going to get a real quarterback. And when they do, they're going to be trouble. And so that's just something I fear the Cardinals more going into next year than I do Frisco or Seattle. I think Frisco could be heading for some hard times, and Seattle, they want to keep dancing with Geno Smith, and we know what Geno Smith is. Geno Smith is here. Brock Purdy is here. Matthew Stafford's way up here, and that's why the Rams will always have a shot. I don't want to talk about Kyler Murray. San Francisco has the 11th overall pick. They got a number 1. They got a full draft class, a 2nd, 2 3s, a 4, a 5, 6, 7. And they got Ricky Pearsall last year. The underrated Dominic Pooney at right guard this year. Isaac Guerrero looked good before he went down. Renardo Green. But in 2023, they drafted Jake Moody. You can decide how you want to decide on that one. Jair Brown, the safety, he's played well for them. Seattle has the number 18 overall pick, and they've got a full complement of picks. 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round, 2 6s, and a 7. Now, they took Byron Murphy this year, who was on a lot of radars last year, including the Rams, or at least Ram fans. He had half a sack, and he was okay, right? But in 2023, the Seahawks nailed it. John Schneider, is it Schneider? No, it's Schneider. Is it John? Anyway, Devin Weatherspoon, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Derek Hall, Zach Charbonnet in one draft in 2023. And in 2022, they nailed it. Charles Cross, Kenneth Walker, Boye Mafe, Abraham Lucas, Kobe Bryant, Reek Woolen. So by and large, these teams have done a great job in drafting. And what's kept the Rams and given the Rams the edge is that the Rams have done just a slightly better job drafting going forward with less resources, right? Less resources. First round pick since 2016, and they net Jared Verse. And then they make a trade that everyone's complaining about that day, going from 51 to 39 for Braden Fisk. And I don't hear those complainers anymore. So just throwing that out there. I'm Joe Terosian. I was a sports writer for 21 years. Now I do RamView, and I write books, and they keep me employed in my day job. I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene. And we're right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual. Of course, BurbankFaithVirtual.com, Burbank Faith Virtual on Facebook and all across social media. One of our key partners, I won't say sponsors, is Outsiders Camps. We run Christian camps through Burbank Faith Virtual. So we're happy to be doing that. And one of my guys there, Shay Stewart, helped put together my new logo there. And so we're thankful to him. Thank you for your support of purchasing my books. They do keep me, keep the lights on, allow me to do a few things. So please check it out on Amazon. This is my first book, Tangent Dreams, high school football novel, and did really well. Probably my best-selling book to start with. My latest book was Game Day in the RamCave, a fictional NFC Championship game between the Rams and the Packers. Please check that out if you haven't, and leave a review. Let me know you were there, and I will say thank you. All right, let's get to the questions. You guys are having a conversation here. We've moved past beyond the Goonies. Let's see here. Boom. Stafford, Tommy Huxley. Stafford talked about retiring, but I doubt he does that anytime soon. No, I think word's pretty official that Stafford's coming back. It's just a question of how you iron out the contract. I am not going to be upset if they gave him $70 million for a year. I'm not going to be upset about it. The Rams are only going to give him, though, what they think they can give him and still function. We know how that works. And I think why would Stafford want to break the bank and hurt the team or hurt them or prevent them from getting more talent put around him? So I do think it's their mutual interest. If he wants to keep playing, this is the best chance he has of going to a Super Bowl. I think he's a Hall of Famer already, but he might have to wait less time if he notches another Super Bowl appearance and a Super Bowl title under his belt. Heck, the way I'm viewing it, next year the Rams defeat the Chiefs and end their 3-year run as Super Bowl champs. That's how I'm viewing it. There you go. Okay, let's see. Willie Bone with LA Rams need to have 2 running backs or a fullback in the backfield. Let's see. Yeah, I think that again, people have made a big deal. Kyle Juszczyk up there in Frisco. You know, the fullback thing is a thing, but it's not a permanent thing. You know, you're not going to see Zonka kicking Morris in a backfield anymore. You know, you're just not going to see that kind of a fullback, a Tom Rathman anymore that's in on every play. They're kind of specialists, and they kind of come in and out. I like the idea of being just versatility. You know, I think you guys out there were suggesting Jonah Jackson playing some fullback down the stretch. I would have danced with that. Let's see. Tommy Hudson, no, George Seifert is not in the Hall of Fame, and neither is Roger Craig. And as a Ram fan, that's a joke. It's an absolute joke that a 2-time Super Bowl winner at coach is not in the Hall of Fame. Of course, they took them 40 years to discover Tom Flores was Hispanic, and then they decided that was a reason. And that's what they did, folks. I'm sorry. Tom Flores should have been in 20 years ago, but in all the SJW, all the stuff of wanting to be cool and hip and really, you know, diversifying, then they discovered Tom Flores was Hispanic. And I can tell you, I was there at the time. No one gave a rip. No one gave a rip in those days. He was just a great coach who managed a whole bunch of personalities. But George Seifert's got 2, and he's not in. And yet Bill Cowher is. Help me understand that. And then Roger Craig. Roger Craig, who just killed the Rams. If you're an honest Ram fan, please tell me, Roger Craig should be in the Hall of Fame, right? I agree. Roger Craig should be in there. Bill, wide receiver is first draft. Wide receiver in draft, then a third and a second and a fourth. Oh, I'm thinking that's what you're thinking in terms of the trade for Stafford. Is that what you're thinking, Bill? Correct me if I'm wrong. Manny Vasquez, Rams have to bring back Bobby Brown. He is a space eater and very underrated. If anything, they need to draft or sign another player like him for the rotation. Definitely draft. Yeah, I'm just curious what his market's going to be. You know, I don't think he's played more than 500 snaps in a season until this year. I'm curious to see. You sign someone to a contract. You want them playing 700, close to 1,000 snaps. I'm just curious if anyone's going to give him a contract. I think it's going to be a big wait and see for Bobby Brown. So I'm really hoping we get him back. So Tommy Huxley, Philly fans are the worst. It sure looks that way. McBride or Higbee from Tommy Huxley. At this point, you got to go McBride, I think. Steve Ramirez, I would think Niners, Seahawks, and Cards have to all pick up tackles to go up against the Rams' edges. Well, the Cardinals have invested, right? Paris Johnson, they made the move for Paris Johnson. They did sign Jonah Williams to play right tackle. He was hurt a lot this year. Trent Williams is getting hurt, and he's getting old. And so Frisco has an issue there. But here's the thing. Charles Cross is one of the better left tackles. I'm not saying he's top 5, but he's one of the better left tackles. And we saw what Jared Verse did to him. I think Jared Verse is going to do that to a lot of people. And as time goes forward. So that's good news for the Rams, that if you think that those guys have to move off of Charles Cross, move off of Paris Johnson, that's good news for the Rams. And but the Rams are going to be a problem for them, because then you got to deal with Byron Young, and then you got to deal with Braden Fisk, and then you got to deal with Kobe Turner. So yeah, Rams are kind of stocked right there. And again, this is the Super Bowl window. Those guys are on their rookie contracts, and it's an opportunity to make the move. Let's see. Tommy Exter, Kyler Hobbit and the Fraudinals. Oh, Kyler, okay. Not a great tackle draft. Are you talking nose tackle, defensive tackle, or offensive tackle draft there? There's a few guys they keep throwing at the Rams. I'm going to talk about them in a second here in terms of drafting for offensive line. A lot of D-line. Okay, now I know what you're saying there, Tommy. Arizona's drafted well, but Murray is still their quarterback, so I'm not worried. I agree with you, Manny. I agree with you. I think he's good, but he's not good enough. And so, yeah, I think that's going to be the one. That's going to be the point where at some point they're going to have to say, you know what, we got to do something about this, and it'll be interesting. Niners are camp geniuses in the art of manipulation of the cap. Hey, so are the Rams, Tommy. Rams have done really good. Let's see. I'm so done with juice. Hola, Pastor Joe. Sorry I'm late. I was making and eating an enchilada casserole. Bring me up to speed. What did I miss? Well, just hit rewind, Chief, and I'm sure you'll get it. We're just talking about the defensive line. We're talking about possible trades. Would you give up the 26th overall pick to the Jets for Garrett Wilson? Would you do that? Would you trade Matthew Stafford to the Giants for the number 3 pick? So that's kind of where we're at. Seahawks offensive line is absolute garbage. A couple years ago, Tommy, I'm going to say that they've never fixed the interior. The interior has always been a problem, running Evan Brown and all those different guys in there. But in 2022, it really looked like, with Charles Cross at left tackle, Abraham Lucas out of Washington State at right tackle, it looked like they had it sewed up there for a while. Then Lucas had a serious injury in 2023, and Cross was injured a lot in 2023. And then only Cross came back, and Lucas didn't come back to midseason this year. But my best memory, I think, is just seeing Jared Verse just manhandle Charles Cross. So there you go. All right, let's keep moving on here. Let's see. Draft. We talked about the Rams. A number 1, which is 26th overall. They got 2 3s, a 4, and 3 6s. And that's their picks, and that's enough to work with. We've worked with far less. Free agents the Rams have to deal with: Alaric Jackson, Jimmy G, Michael Hoyt, Christian Roseboom, John Johnson, Hunter Long, Akilla Witherspoon, Bobby Brown. Neville Gallimore, Laurel Murchison, Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, Joe Noteboom, Troy Reeder, Ronnie Rivers. Ronnie Rivers' birthday is today, so happy birthday to Ronnie Rivers. He turns 26. I think Rivers will find his way back into Rams camp. I think Joe Noteboom's a goner. I think Tutu Atwell's a goner too. But I want to ask you guys something, and I know I'm hesitant to do this. He was drafted. He caught 43 passes this year. He caught 40 passes last year, 18 in his second year when it was the offensive line chainsaw massacre of 2022. And, everyone was throwing between Bryce Perkins, John Wolford, Baker Mayfield, and Matthew Stafford. Do you consider Tutu Atwell a bust? And I know people are going to still get on the Creed Humphrey, Nick Bolton, all that kind of stuff train. I don't consider him a bust. I consider him miscast. I don't know what it is, because obviously I think the Rams liked him, but they just couldn't figure out what to do with him. And even if the Rams said to Tutu Atwell, hey, we want you back. If I'm Atwell, I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to go find out, where I can play a little bit. I think Andy Reid would find room for Tutu Atwell. I'm just thinking. Right? I think Detroit would find room for Tutu Atwell, at least under Ben Johnson in the offensive room. But I just don't. I think the Rams drafted him, and I don't know what they expected. Did they not have a clear plan? He is not a bust. Otherwise, he would have been gone. So what was their plan when they drafted him? I thought when they drafted him, they might have thought they were getting the Rams version of Tyler Lockett. Now, Tyler Lockett's runs come to an end in Seattle. But if you remember Tyler Lockett, he was a kick returner at first, and then was he Kansas State? And then he just developed into a really solid, good NFL receiver and a great pairing with DK Metcalf. And so when I think I mentioned it, I think I was in Vegas when Atwell was drafted. I was in the Venetian, and I was watching the draft, and they took Atwell. And I remember, my brother and I think Steeler fan Rob texted me and started saying they drafted a Smurf. And but I was thinking that, maybe he's just the burner. He's the Tyler Lockett, and they didn't seem to have a plan for Atwell. That's how it seems to me. Okay, looking at mock drafts, we've been looking at them each week. I'm going to pick it up, and each time we do a show, we'll look at a different mock draft. Georgia's Jalen Walker was one in early January. Mansour Delane, a cornerback from Virginia Tech, was one in the middle of January. Last week, Josh Simmons, Ohio State, not only by Sports Illustrated, but also by Bucky Brooks, NFL. And then, of course, today, Eric Edholm from NFL.com, he had released a mock draft earlier today, and it was Ohio State offensive tackle guard Donovan Jackson, which makes it kind of funny is that he's the guy who moved from left guard to left tackle when Josh Simmons went down and was the starter during the drive to the national championship, played pretty well. Donovan Jackson, 6'4", 320, but he played guard. He's still viewed by most draft scouts as a guard. And yet he played tackle down the stretch and did a fantastic job. He's interesting. He's really interesting to me because he's got versatility now. He can play guard. He can play tackle. Remember this, as we get ready to watch the Super Bowl, it's something I don't know if it's being talked about enough. Kansas City's left tackle currently, Joe Thuney, is a career left guard. He moved to left tackle in Week 15 when they played the Browns, and they haven't lost since. Week 18 to Denver doesn't count because Thuney really didn't play. He played 3 snaps at guard and came out of the game, and the Chiefs just benched everybody. But every meaningful game since Week 15, Joe Thuney's been their left tackle, and it was a black hole all season with all the injuries. And now the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl again. So there is a precedent there for a guard moving out to tackle, right? And so it'd be interesting what a Donovan Jackson would bring. I don't know if it's our most pressing need. I would draft another. If I drafted a wide receiver at 26, I would probably draft an offensive lineman at number that could play tackle at number in the third round. Or if we're not willing to draft a wide receiver at number 26 or send it to the Jets for Garrett Wilson, I'm down with trading back and accumulating more picks in the top 100. but just something to think about there. Eric Edholm at NFL.com had Donovan Jackson as his mock draft pick for the Rams. All right, so we got all that in. Let's see, before we get to this date in Rams history, let's check out some more of you guys' questions, and we will go from there. Let's see. Bill, I'm saying draft a wide receiver in the first round, defensive tackle in the third, offensive tackle in the third round, a tight end in the fourth round. Oh, okay, Bill. I think we're almost in agreement there then. Almost in agreement there. Yeah, sounds good. And it seems like everyone's sending me stuff on tight ends in this draft. And I think even Rams Wire had something on the UCLA tight end talking to the Rams already. So, okay, I got you on that one. Manuel Vasquez, the NFC West is the Rams to lose for the next couple of years, at least with all the problems the rest of the teams have. You know, I worry about the Cardinals. I do. Now, the ace in the hole is Kyler Murray, but I do worry about the Cardinals because I think they're loading up a lot of talent. I think Frisco is going to be on the downslide. We said that last year, if you were with us a year ago, but we said we saw Frisco making the playoffs, but we saw them taking a tumble, and they took a bigger tumble than we thought. Michael Negretti, the Rams should trade down in the first round, pick up another draft choice in the low second round or high third round. Not against that at all. Pick it and accumulate those draft picks. Manuel Vasquez, Tutu is not a bust. He's just in the wrong system. He'll be a 1,000-yard receiver on another team without the blocking. Okay. How are you going to? I'm wondering how people are going to feel when if that happens. If Atwell goes someplace else and gains 1,000 yards, right? That's going to be interesting. All right.
It was a stone groove, my man.
It was a stone groove. Let's get to this date in Rams history. And on this date, 1968, Rams take a wide receiver out of Jackson State, 12th round, 323 overall. Does anyone know who that receiver was? Harold Jackson. Spent a year with the Rams. George Allen traded him to the Eagles for Izzy Lane. Izzy Lane did nothing for the Rams. Interesting enough, George Allen comes back to the Rams in 78, and the first player that gets traded is Harold Jackson to the Patriots. So he was not a big Harold Jackson fan, I guess. I love Harold Jackson. On this date in 1973, the Rams trade Clancy Williams. Now, Clancy Williams was a longtime cornerback from the Rams from 65 through 72, played at Washington State, great athlete, lockdown corner for the Rams, or lockdown that corner position. I can't say he's a lockdown corner per se, but played with George Allen. And then his career went out, played a little bit in 71, a little bit in 72, and then was traded when the new regime came to the Rams in 73 or took over. That was Chuck Knox, Don Klosterman, Carol Rosenblum. And that same day, the Rams sent a 10th round pick in the 74 draft to acquire a safety, Jerry Logan, from the Colts. Now, Logan is completely forgotten about in NFL history, but he started for the Colts for 10 years, never missed a game, played in 2 Super Bowls, was All-Pro 4 times, or Pro Bowl 4 times, paired with Rick Volk in their secondary in Super Bowl 3 and Super Bowl 5. Great player, but he was at the end of his run. But because he was a former Colt, Rosenblum used to own the Colts, Don Klosterman was the GM, they made a bid for Jerry Logan. And this was when the Rams started trying to rehaul and reform their secondary going into the 73 season. Jim Nettles, Gene Howard, Clancy Williams, all these guys were on the ropes and were gone. If you remember, I mentioned that on Wednesday, the Rams drafted Eddie McMillan in 73. They made him a starter. They acquired Charlie Stukes from the Colts, who went to the Vikings briefly. They made a deal to bring in Charlie Stukes just before the season began in 73. They had Steve Priest, journeyman at safety, and the only guy that held on from 72 was Dave Elmendorf. And so the Rams were really searching in the secondary in 73, and Jerry Logan didn't work out. I think he decided to retire. So we did mention Ronnie Rivers' birthday. He's 26 today. Let's see. Tomorrow is the 47th anniversary of the Rams rehiring George Allen for the 3rd time. Yeah, George Allen was hired 3 times by the Rams, 66, again in 69 after he was fired, and then in 78. And, of course, he was fired all 3 times. So there you go. Let's see. On this date, tomorrow, Rams hire John Robinson as their head coach in 1983. Let's see if I got something else in there. Boom, 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 boom. 2017, Rams hire Zach Taylor as a wide receiver coach. In 2018, Taylor is promoted to quarterback coach. Then, of course, we know he ends up in Cincy. February 1st, 1972, Rams take Jim Bertelsen, one of the second-round picks they acquired in the Deacon Jones trade. They take him 30th overall out of Texas, and they take Lawrence McCutcheon 70th overall. I believe it was Colorado or Colorado State. I think it was Colorado State, and that's the Rams' backfield for the next few years, although McCutcheon didn't play much in 72. Also, unfortunately, on January the 1st, 2006, Dick Scooter Bass passed away at the age of 68. All right, I think we got it all in there. And yeah, I think we're good. And all right, let's see if we got a few more questions, and then we'll let you guys get out of here on Friday night. Tim Burns, hey everyone, have a safe weekend. There you go. I believe Bill Simpson was drafted in 74. Yes, Steve Ramirez, he was. Colin Bryant was drafted as a safety in 73. Bill Simpson was drafted in 74, 50th overall out of Michigan State. And yeah, the Rams kept making moves. Charlie Stukes got injured in 75, and that was the end of his career. But that was the year, the Rams drafted Rod Perry in the 4th round. They drafted Pat Thomas in the 2nd round in 76. Nolan Cromwell, they made the deal to move up to draft Nolan Cromwell in 77. And of course, in 75, they drafted Monty Jackson. So yeah, there was just a lot of moves there to rebuild that secondary because you had stability with Elmendorf, but everything else was kind of, no one knew what to get. But at linebacker, you had Jack Reynolds, you had Isaiah Robertson, you had Ken Geddes, who I kind of liked, who's a great team guy, but when he was proved limited, you had Jim Youngblood there. They were developing Rick Kay, so Jim, they were okay. And then on the offensive line, you had, Brooks, Olson, Dreyer, Youngblood, and then you're running in there during that time, Mike Fanning, you're running in there, Cody Jones, quality players. There was so much depth on that Rams team leading into 73. Just a shame that the fantasy was they thought they had a quarterback in Pat Hayden, right? Anyway, all right. Okay, guys, we hit the 40-minute mark. I think I'm going to go. My family's buzzing at me. And what a great night. Please check us out on Spotify. Check us out from the RamCave. Check us out on Mid-Valley Sports. And we will be back on Monday. God bless. Take care. Thanks for hanging. See you soon.